state. Now, I was born after the health service was founded. I was born after the great regulations and bills of Acts of 1948 that brought about the principle of welfare state. Somewhere along the line, we've kind of lost our way. As a society, we glory in articles in newspapers, some newspapers, and programs on some television channels that routinely describe anyone legitimately claiming that to which they're entitled as a benefit scrounger, that condemn people on disability benefits, often to go through the indignity of availability for work tests, fail those tests, lose their benefits, eventually appeal against them, and some of those people with mental health conditions and all kinds of problems in their lives have sadly even taken their own lives as a result of it. Why as a society do we almost accept that 1 million people need food banks? Why do we accept that there are people sleeping on the streets? Why do we accept that desperate people queue up on winter's afternoons outside a hostel, hoping to get a bed for that night, only to leave the next morning and spend the next day hoping to get a bed somewhere else the following night? None of this is easy, but cannot we recognise as a society everyone matters? All of us can be in a bad place, all of us can get mental health conditions, all of us can go through a crisis, all of us can experience family breakup and all those things that go with it. Can't we be a society that is decent, civilised and compassionate enough to stop using the language of abuse for those that are in a difficult place? About that, recognise, yes, we do need to spend resources on assisting people, but basically we need to ensure young people get jobs and opportunities, and that our benefit system doesn't work for the twin-headed problems of subsidising high rents in the private rented sector and subsidising low wages in the rest of the economy. Advantage to all of us of raising the minimum wage. There is an economic advantage to all of us in building more housing, particularly council housing, to provide decent, secure, permanent accommodation for people. What this government is proposing is the very opposite of all that. They're saying to every local authority, sell off your valuable property if it's worth over 400,000 quid. They're saying if you earn more than £30,000, your rent has got to go up to a market level. And they're saying to the private rented sector, don't worry, the regulation won't affect the rent level you charge. And they're saying to the housing associations, which they don't own or control, you've got to sell off your properties. Well, shouldn't we kind of turn the whole argument around and say there is a housing crisis in this country? There are large numbers of people that are homeless, near destitute, children growing up in bed and breakfast, children in their families routinely moving every 6 months and sometimes even changing primary school or even secondary school every 6 months. How disruptive is that to their education and their lives? And that we need to be building far more council housing in order to fundamentally deal with the issues of housing need. It's an investment, yeah, but the returns are huge. The returns are huge in better achievement in education. The returns are huge in less family breakup. The returns are huge in the jobs you create in that kind of building and expansion and development program. There's a plus all round in a cohesive, coherent society. There are a plus all round in creating equality rather than inequality. But what does the budget propose? A cut in corporation tax, £30 billion worth of sale of state assets. That and the welfare reform bill, what an abuse of language that is, in taking away benefits from the third and subsequent child in any family. and ending the last vestiges of public support for the children of poorer families going to university, where they could get tuition fees supported and a maintenance grant to be there. Can't we turn these things around and do things very, very differently? And so, another idea we're suggesting there is simply this. I am astonished at the level of debt that students leaving university come out with. This is the time when you meet young people who just graduated, worked really hard, got their GCSEs, got their A-levels, got to university, worked really hard, studied hard, and come out with a degree. They've come out with a degree and a price tag, a massive debt surrounding them, £50,000, £60,000 worth of debt. I oppose the first lot of student fees of £1,000, I oppose £3,000, I oppose £9,000, and I will oppose lifting of the cap altogether. Because I think we as a society should value education. We should ensure that preschool is available for all children, so that early years socialisation is there and available. We should strengthen the principle of the local education authority and the family of local schools. Bring the free schools and academies back into the local authority. I just have this deeply old-fashioned, even 1960s view of it. How these things are thought out. That if my child is in school and my child is being taught, I'm really pleased when I know the teacher standing in front of the class is qualified to be a teacher. It's not a lot to ask. And so we can do things differently, and I hope that we can. We live in a world where our environment is precious and our environment is under threat. This week it's stories about bees. There's a story in the papers